Okay, in this video we're going to talk about revolvers and automatics. Give you a basic idea how they function and the pros and cons. Revolvers, as we remember, the guy suggested a revolver is the way to go. They're low maintenance, they're simple. There's only two things you have to remember on them, the hammer and the trigger. Now how they work and how you load them is all revolvers, no matter who designed it, will have a sort of button either here. This is a Smith & Wesson, it pushes forward, a Colt pulls back. Different makes and manufacturers will have something there, or you will find down in this area a latch that you pull. And like when you push this forward, the cylinder will swing out, exposing your where you place your 6 cartridges. To load the revolver, you place the cartridges inside. Now if you fired the revolver, what you would do is push on this rod, and this here would extract all the fired cartridges and they would fall free from the weapon. You either load them one at a time or you can use a speed loader. The one main disadvantage of a revolver is it's only got 6 shots, some have 5, the smaller ones, and the loading and reloading, okay, is time consuming. You need 2 hands. Generally you do this, knock it out, load it, and then close it again, you're ready to go, okay. Then, as for the action, all revolvers are going to be what they call a double single action. What that means is the gun here, you would have to pull the trigger and it would rotate the cylinder, cock the hammer. Okay? That's double action. Single action, you pull the hammer back, it rotates the cylinder, then it's a much easier, lighter trigger pull to shoot. So you have that choice. All revolvers are basically designed similarly. It would be very unusual to find one that doesn't function like this. Once you figure out how to use one revolver, it is just a matter of some mild differences. You can use any revolver, okay? The advantages are, you can load this, lay it down, leave it for years, pick it up, and it will function. Also, another advantage is ammunition. Because the ammunition is carried in the cylinder and the power of the cartridge does not make the gun function, okay? In an automatic, the cartridge going off is the recoil is used to make the gun operate. You can load a revolver down to a light load. You can load it to its maximum power. The light loads for target shooting or whatever. You can vary the bullets, and it is not that sensitive to ammunition. As long as the ammunition is powerful enough to get out the barrel, it's good, okay? Usually you have adjustable sights. You can get them with adjustable sights, fixed sights, whatever. But the function and operation is there. So your advantages are low maintenance and good reliability, okay? If the gun is mechanically sound, not damaged, not beat up, you can just load this, leave it. There are no other levers or safeties or devices to worry about, okay? You load the gun, you can leave it there for years, pick it up at a moment's notice, and it will function, okay? Disadvantages, and also it's not ammunition sensitive, so you have a wider range of ammunition you can use. The disadvantages are it's kind of it's cumbersome and time consuming to reload. Even with speed loaders and that, you'd have to practice. That's what the police used to always make you practice, and that's what it's all about. So like I said, once you're familiar with one revolver, any make or model, it would only take you a very short period of time to get used to it and be proficient with it. So now when we go to automatics, automatics have a few advantages, but the thing about it is when the cartridge is fired, the recoil of the cartridge operates the gun. Okay, that's the difference between this and revolver. And your magazine, usually in the handle, is here. Now, most of your early guns really didn't have much more of an ammunition capacity over revolver, 7 or 8 rounds compared to 6, which was kind of the standard. This here is the Colt 1911 model. It was used by the U.S. government for years. And the reason I took this one is on the older automatics, you will find that they are what's called single action only. What that means is when this gun is loaded, cocked, you pull the trigger, the hammer goes down, okay, and then the action of the gun recocks the hammer. If you pull the trigger again, say a cartridge malfunctioned, it doesn't do anything, okay? This is an old design, it's over 100-year-old design. Back in 1938, before World War II, Walter designed a pistol. And this pistol was innovative. It's a double single action with a decocker. It works like most normal automatics. You would cock it, okay? Then you put a loaded magazine in there. There would have the hammer cocked and everything else. Now this has a safety and a decocker. So what you would do is depress the safety. The hammer would drop because this safety blocks the firing pin, so the gun won't go off. Now the gun is unsafe. You would holster it with a round in the chamber. Okay, the hammer does move, but the firing pin is blocked and the gun will not go off. You holster the gun, pull it up, flip the safety off, and then where on a 45 or single action you have to cock this. This, you pull the trigger, and it's a double action. Okay, we'll pull it back, fire, and then when the gun would fire and cock it again, then it's, if you notice where the trigger is here, as compared that it's farther out here to use its double action mechanism. And then when the gun will go off after the first round, the gun's back in single action, and on these pistols, it's a noticeably different trigger pull. Okay? So this is, most of your modern guns are double action if they have a hammer, but a lot of them are striker fired in the automatics. This is a striker fired gun. Now we're all familiar with the Glock. This is kind of a Glock-like setup. Very similar to it. It is not a Glock. But when Glock came out with these pistols, what they did is they use a polymer frame. There's still a metal frame in here, but it's simpler than these other older guns where the whole frame was machined out of one block of steel. Where now you have a steel stamping or a small section where the steel slide and the steel barrel lock into, okay? And then this frame is put inside the polymer frame itself. The steel frame is in there and then the polymer is molded around it. This is a striker fired pistol. It has no hammer exposed. How this works is when the slide goes back, there's a spring-loaded firing pin that's caught in the mechanism which is connected to the trigger. So, what we do is we'll cock the gun. Now, another thing, on all these pistols you'll see there's 2 little pieces to the trigger, okay? If you look at this gun, the only thing you have is a slide release. There's no safety or anything on it. Now how this gun works, I can get it up there. You see there's 2 little sections to the trigger. If you pull on the trigger, other than the centerpiece, it's locked. That's your safety. You have to depress this piece in the center and then the gun will fire. Okay? And if you notice the trigger stays back, this is a single action striker fired weapon. Glock tried to make something simple as a handgun. Okay, there's no controls, no nothing. In theory, you would cock this gun, put a round in the chamber. It is inert. until you grasp it and depress this forward part of the trigger. Okay? That's the whole concept. Simple, easy, efficient. Okay, that's why the Glocks are very popular. Alright? There's not a lot of things on there to confuse you or anything else. But when I get into the striker fired guns and the different guns, these features of the single action, double action are kind of important because there is a difference in how you'd handle the gun or whether or not it's, relevant to you or not. Also, so your semi-automatics, the advantages on an auto loader compared is usually you have a button magazine, okay, unless you have one of the older European ones on the bottom. That's not very efficient, but most of them have a magazine up here on the grip, okay, so you can just drop out your mag, stick another one in. You can reload an automatic a lot faster than a revolver and carry more rounds. This mid-sized gun has a 12-round magazine, or no, 14, I'm sorry. Holds 14 rounds compared to 6, okay? Full-size guns carry in 9mm. Now that's 9mm. If you go 45 or 40, drop that by 2 or 3 rounds. So like a full-size Glock will carry 17 rounds of 9mm. It carries less than the same size gun of 40 or 45. It gets it down to 45, I think carries about 13 compared to 7 in an old pistol, 13 or 14. A lot of it depends on the gun or the size of the gun, okay? Because this here is like a mid-size. That's why it only has 14 rounds compared to 17 like in a full-size gun. So your semi-autos are much faster, say when you fire this, it'll hold open on the last round. You drop the magazine goes clear, you throw in another one, and hit the slide release and you're ready to go again with another 14 rounds. A lot more firepower, and you can reload it a lot faster. So that's the advantage over a revolver, okay? And you can get these semi-autos that are as simple as a revolver. The 45 has numerous safeties and grip safeties and that, and there's a lot of different options depending on the model or make of handgun you get. The only disadvantage is a semi-automatic gun, its functioning relies on the quality of the ammunition. If you have piss poor quality ammo, or if the gun for some reason the way it's designed or built doesn't like a certain ammunition because it's not powerful enough, or the bullet shape or design or whatever, you can run into problems and have malfunctions. Semi-automatics some can be ammunition sensitive, and you may have to only put a particular brand or type of ammo in the gun to make sure it's 100% reliable, okay? So that's the main disadvantage. Also, there are a lot of springs. The striker, has a spring. There's a spring under tension when this pistol is cocked like this. So when you load this gun, you have the striker spring has tension on it now, it's compressed. The trigger spring has tension on it, it's compressed. The magazine spring, if this is a full magazine, this spring has tension and is compressed. And if you leave these, in theory, a lot of people say, if you leave a gun like this loaded 6 months, a year, so it'll start to fatigue the springs, and which could run into problems of a malfunction. That's the idea. I've heard of people that said they had magazines that were loaded for 10 years and put them in a gun. They bought them from an estate. The guy loaded them 10 years ago, passed away, and when they bought his stuff, they took the full mags out and fired them. There were no malfunctions. So it is something to think about. I don't know, I've never had a problem. With an automatic, you should disassemble, clean, rotate magazines, get the tension off the striker and leave it for a while, you know. Exactly how bad it could be, I don't know, all right? But it is something to consider. That is a disadvantage. Malfunctions and breakdowns, and they need more maintenance. These have to be cleaned well to function, oiled, lubricated. You know, you have to maintain them to get 100% reliability, like they said in the thing. Where a revolver, you just basically clean it, oil it, and leave it alone. It's mechanical system is more robust and will work with less maintenance. So that's your difference between autos and semi-automatics. I hope that gives you some ideas to think about while you make up your mind.